Chapter 13. I'm back to not sleeping again. Everything I can think of to try, I've already thought and turned down. Even the thought of Dad driving me up to Middlebourne and going to the county courthouse to report a man who's mean to his dogs, thinking maybe they would just let Judd have Shiloh back again. Dad says that we're where we'd have to go, all right. But how am I going to prove it about Judd? Think about that, he says. I have been thinking about it. Do I really suppose they send an investigator all the way out from Middlebourne to see what about a man who kicks his dogs? And if they did, do I think Judd's going to tell the man, yes, indeed he does kick them? Do I think an investigator is going to hide out in the bushes near Judd Travers' place for a week just to see for himself? Tyler County hasn't hardly got the money to investigate reports of children being kicked, Dad says, much less dogs. Even if I told the animal rights people that I found a dog with a bullet hole in his head up near Judd's house, that don't prove Judd was the one who killed it. I go out to talk to Dad about some more while he's chopping the wood, and he just says, son, it's hard. I know. But sometimes you just got to do what has to be done. It's Judd's dog, and there's no getting around it. Ma tries to make me feel better. She says, at least I brought him some joy and kindness into his life of a dog that never had any before, and that Shiloh will never forget me. But that even makes me feel worse. Wish you could forget. Keep thinking of how Shiloh's going to look at me when we drive him over to Judd's, and my eyes fill up again. Becky's been crying. She's been crying too. So does Darlene. The one good thing about this is now that the whole family loves Shiloh and we can talk about him out loud. But there's not one thing we can do. 3 more days and we'll have to give him up. I walk into Friendly on Friday to talk with David Howard. David feels almost as bad as I do. I hardly finished telling him about Shiloh, and he's got tears in his eyes already. David Howard's 30 pounds heavier and bigger than me, and he still don't care who sees him cry. I've been thinking, David, I say. You got relatives in Ohio, don't you? He nods. Do you think any of them would take Shiloh? Could you call him up and ask him? I could drive down there tomorrow and take him back with them. And just tell Judd we let Shiloh out one day and he never came back. More lies. But David's shaking his head already. It's only Uncle Clyde and my Aunt Pat. And she's allergic to dogs. They had one once and they had to give him up. On the way back home, I'm thinking about someplace really good I could hide that dog. The old gristmill, maybe. Up by the bridge. The door's padlocked, but it don't take much to get in, 'cause the top of the building's open somewhere, but the roof's blown away. I bet I could hide Shiloh in there for 10 years, and he'd never even make a sound. What kind of life would that, though? Could never take him anywhere except after dark. Even then, he'd be so close to Judd's place, the other dogs would probably sniff him out. Slowly, the minutes and the hours of Friday tick by. Then it's Saturday. And out last day with Shiloh. We give him every little treat we can think of. I wonder we don't make him sick. And after supper, we sit down on the back porch like we usually do. Becky and Darlene are rolling around in the grass, and Shiloh limps out to there to join the fun. I show Becky how if you lay down on your stomach with the arms up over your face, Shiloh will work his way to turn you over. Both girls have to try it, and Shiloh does just that, I said, trying the best to get those girls up on their feet. If Becky ever fell in the creek, I'll bet Shiloh would pull her out, Ma says. If I ever saw a snake, I bet Shiloh would kill it for me, says Darlene. I got a sadness inside me grown so big I feel I'm about to burst. That night, I sleep a little bit, wake a little bit, sleep a little bit, wake up some more. About dawn, however, I know what I gotta do. I get up quiet as can be. Soon as Shiloh hears me, of course, he's out of his box. Shiloh, shh, I say, and I put my fingers to my lips. He watches me a moment, then crawls back in his box, good as ever. I dress, pull on my sneakers, take me a slice of bread from the loaf on the counter, and peach off the tree in the yard. Then I take the shortcut through the east wood towards Judd Travers. It's the only thing left to do. I talked to Dad, to Ma, and to David, and nobody's got any more idea what to do with them as they did before. What I'm fixing to do is talk to Judge Travers straight and tell him I'm not going to give him Shiloh back. I rehearse my lines so often I can say 'em by heart. What I don't know, though, is what Judd's going to say and what he's going to do. I'll tell him he can beat me, punch me, kick me, but I'm not going to give him that dog. I'll buy Shiloh from Judd, but if he won't sell and he comes to get him, I'll take Shiloh and head out in the other direction. Only way we can get the dog back is to take me to the court, and then I'll tell the judge how Judge treats his animals. Halfway through the woods, I'm thinking that what I'm about to do could get my dad in a whole lot of trouble. Around here, it's serious business when you get in a quarrel with your neighbor. And you got to carry it as far as the law. Folks ain't fond of Judd, and most of 'em likes my dad. But when it comes to taking a man's property, I figured they'll side with Judd. I'm not making life one bit easier for my parents, Darlene or Becky. But I just can't give up with Shiloh without a fight. Will he shoot me? That thought crossed my mind, too. Some kid got shot down in Mingo County once. Easy as pie for Judge Travers to put a bullet in my head, he says. He didn't see me. I got my feet pointed towards Judge Travers' place, though, and they ain't about to turn back. Still, so early in the morning, the mist is still rising up on the ground, and when I come to the stretch of field, it looks like a grass is steaming skylight, but the sun hasn't allowed itself yet. You live in the country, it takes a while for the sun to rise. Got to scale up the mountain first. I'm practicing being quiet. What I hope to do is get to Judd's house before he's wide awake, taken by surprise. He sees me coming half a mile off without Shiloh. He's likely to figure I got to say and have answers already. I want to be sitting there on his porch in the morning, the moment he gets out of bed. The rabbit goes lickety-split in front of me, then disappears. I went out hunting with Dad once, and he said that when you first scare up a rabbit, it hops a short way, then stops and looks back. That's when you got to freeze. You can't move nothing but your eyeballs, Dad says. When you have to look for it, that shiny black dot, that rabbit's eye. If you look for that whole rabbit, you almost never see him because he blends into the scenery. So I don't move a muscle, and I look for the shiny black dot, and there it is. I wonder what's going on inside that rabbit. If its heart's pounding fierce, no way I could tell. I wasn't about to do it no harm, so I go on back into the second stretch of woods, heading to the second field. I'm just about to come out of the trees when I stop dead still again. For right there in the meadow is a deer, a young doe. She's munching on something, and every so often she stops and looks up, and then goes eating again. Hardest thing in the world for me is to see how anybody could shoot an animal like that. Then a couple of winters ago, we hardly had any meat on our table, and I guess I can see now how my father, with 3 kids, could shoot a deer. Hope I never have to, though. I'm just about to step out of the woods of the meadow, then crack! The sound of a rifle splits the air, echoes back through the woods of the hills. The doe takes off across the meadow, heading for the woods. Its front legs rear up, and then its back legs leap up in the flash of the white. Crack! The rifle sounds again, and this time the deer goes down. I can't move. One part of me wants to go to the deer, and the other part wants to know that somebody's out here with a rifle shooting deer out of season. And before I can decide whether I go to turn back out of the woods, on the other side steps Judd Travers, rifle in hand.